How are you?
Good morning, J-Lo, as I nickname you. Good
You were the
morning.
first.
How
So
are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing? I've been very
Good.
much enjoying your pictures of you and your lovely dog. So are we going to see the dog today, or is the dog locked out?
She's resting. She went for a run with me this morning, which is hilarious. I'm running and I'm trying to pull her along with me.
You're
She's a
dragging.
hound, so she's constantly sniffing. But yeah, she's passed out in the corner. She might kind
Oh,
of make an appearance.
well, that's all right. That's all right. So we've got half an hour to talk, and for all those people that have joined us, we're going to be talking about Andrew, his career. We will obviously touch on what's happening now because we can't not. But it's more. This is less about kind of regulations and what we think is going to happen, and more about you. So let's start with what's happening now. Obviously, the 23rd of March, the world changed for everybody. You're obviously now you're creative director and communications director for the Headmasters Group, but you're also a franchisee, which is very exciting. So you've got London Salon. So from the point of view of your salon and your team, how's it going?
You know what? It's okay. I think the important thing is keeping everyone tight and
Yeah,
focused and informed. So that information is really key. You know, people are concerned, of course, they're worried about the future, they've got anxiety. And what always helps people in those situations is when they feel that they're informed.
yeah.
So we're avoiding kind of any kind of unknowns or what
Yeah.
ifs and maybes and speculation
So no
because
speculation.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much speculation, isn't
Yeah.
it, Jane? I mean, whatever media you turn on, whether it's
Yeah.
print or TV or social, there's so much speculation, and it can be quite harmful. So,
Yeah, it can.
just the important thing for us is we're just keeping everybody informed. And, you know, in today's kind of culture, we have so many platforms that we can keep people informed with as well.
Yeah. And in terms of clients, Andrew, how are you keeping in touch with clients?
Well, I find it quite sweet that I kind of made a list of like all my regular clients who I've seen for a long time, many, many
Yeah.
years. Some of them elderly and living alone and things. And I made a list that I was going to call them. They
Right.
beat me to it and they're all calling me to see if I'm okay.
Oh, I don't know what
So
that
it's
says.
quite hilarious. Yeah. I've got a fruit farmer client in Kent and she's been sending me kind of fruit and vegetable kind of supplies as
Oh,
well.
I
And
love it. I
yeah,
love it.
so yeah, I mean it's very sweet. So yeah, again, we're just making sure that across the network, we're
Yeah.
keeping clients informed via our website and our social media channels. And again, just delivering small, key, definite messages that we know there are the truth.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and
And
like
I mean,
everybody that's listening and watching, Jane, we're all praying and hoping for a
yeah,
4th of July opening.
yeah,
And then in the couple of weeks before that, if that looks like a definite, then
yeah.
that's when we'll be looking at priority bookings,
Okay.
appointments, and scheduling those appointments for our clients.
And also, I suppose making the alterations that we need to make to the salons as we need to make them, and when we know definitely what they are.
Absolutely, you know, and I've been chatting to a lot of people in the industry and kind of our associates across the world as well. And I think many of us have just got this real hope and fingers crossed
Yeah,
that by the 4th of July it will be safe enough to be
yeah.
able to relax some of those precautions that we might have to put into place.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think there's been a lot of press around in the kind of the nationals that has made anxiety levels go through the roof because they forget when they're doing sensationalist headlines that we're not going to open for 6 months. This is people's lives and livelihoods. They've got families and responsibilities, and
Absolutely.
that doesn't help anybody just chatting just untruth because it's
Yeah.
not true. And I think you're absolutely right to kind of
Yeah.
maintain
And,
that.
and, and around that, around speculation and around kind of support for the hairdressing
Yeah,
industry as well, I
yeah,
think I'd like to use this opportunity, if it's okay with you, to say a
yeah.
big thank you to HJ and the
Oh,
trade press.
thank you.
Do you mean, and also kind of to the trade bodies, you know, the
Yeah,
Federation and the Hair and Barber Council, who have really been working hard, and all of the manufacturers as well. That are
yeah,
really
it's true.
trying to kind of bring some clarity together for all of us in business.
Yeah. We've already started getting questions. So Michelle Wilson said, what are your thoughts about returning on the 4th of July? I suppose that's for you personally. You good, ready to go? You want to get back?
I'm just keeping myself as fit and strong as possible, so I'm going to be working 24/7 behind that chair. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come
That's
in.
good.
Yeah.
I get that. And Jodie Watts has said, do you feel clients have been patient in understanding we are not open yet? Are you operating a waiting list? And do you think that's the best way? So will that be what you do?
Yeah, I think, we will make sure that we can service all those clients that were booked in at the end of March,
Yeah.
April, May, and now June.
Yeah.
So, there's a priority around kind of advanced appointments.
Okay.
And then, again, I want to avoid speculation because it's a bit unknown at the moment, but
No.
we're preparing all kind of case scenarios.
Yeah, no, I get that. And Laura Geary, lots of love, Andrew Barton, I'm watching.
Good morning, Laura Geary. Yeah. I think we're having a glass of wine tonight, Laura Geary, aren't we?
What, you're having a Zoom virtual catch up?
Absolutely.
Love that.
Absolutely,
Love
yeah.
that. It's a good job we had. Can you imagine if we didn't have the technology we have?
Oh, well, yeah. And, that's going back to the question that you asked me about how we're talking to our teams.
Yes.
Technology is really helping us to keep everybody informed.
Yeah. So there's not much you haven't done. So for those that don't know, so you started out in Barnsley, which I know you're very proud of your hometown and your heritage.
I'm very proud of my northern roots, excuse the pun.
Yeah, you should have. Yeah, all right, leave it. And then education director at Tony and Guy. Then you moved to Saks in a very similar role. Then you headed up the operation at Urban Retreat and now at Headmasters. So you've pretty much ticked off all those hairdressing super brands. And you also had your own salon in Covent Garden, let's not forget. So you've done that. You've won awards.
I've won the award.
You've won the award. Right. So, do you know that was 2006?
Wow. Okay.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Andrew is the only person that's won British, dropped to his knees, and the first thing he's done is drop the F-bomb. It will live with me forever. I was like, wow. So
and when my name was announced, my mother was carried out on a stretcher because she had an asthma attack.
It's not funny. I'm not laughing at that.
No.
It was just the whole thing was just like a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
So you have done all of that. So talk to people, just give people a bit of a flavour of what that journey's been like.
Throughout my career from an early point, I've always enjoyed chairing and kind of teaching and training and education. So that's been a big part of my journey. Yeah,
because education's run through all of it.
Absolutely, always. From working with manufacturer brands to working with, as you just said, kind of those three kind of UK super brands.
Yeah.
And part of that journey has been a wonderful learning experience the whole time for me because I've had the opportunity to work with some incredible people. Yeah. And there's one of my colleagues just kind of writing in just there, Laura Geary, kind of saying, good morning. And, I think I have definitely had the benefit of great teams working around me. And working as part of a great team gives great opportunities as well. So, when people say to me, how did that happen? How did that happen? It's usually because I've been involved with a big team and opportunities have therefore come.
So there was also a lot of travel involved in a lot of that, I would imagine. Did you enjoy that part of it?
It's interesting seeing different takes on hairdressing across the world. Do you mean in Taipei, in the Philippines, in India, in Mexico, do you know what I mean, in South Africa? Yeah. All those things have helped me grow as an educator, as a trainer, as a manager of people, and as a hairdresser as well, and despite everything that I've been blessed to do in my career, from working on catwalk shows to Royal Palaces to TV to whatever, I have got to say I've spent a career trying to get from behind the chair.
Yeah.
And now the most rewarding days that I have, my absolutely favourite ones, are in the salon with my team, back to back with clients. Yeah. And one of the things I know we've not got long, Jayne, but something that I've recently kind of thrown some welly behind is I think there's been a lot of talk over the last decade of kind of elevating the session hairdresser
Yeah.
to the absolute pinnacle of this industry. That's exciting, and session work is brilliant, but what I want to do is really champion the success of the salon-based
Salon hairdresser.
I mean,
Absolutely.
because that is a career aspiration, and to be a successful salon-based hairdresser with a huge clientele and a great income,
Absolutely.
I think is so important. As an industry, we rarely talk about money and
No.
incomes. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
all the people that work around me, I want them to have a great lifestyle,
Yeah.
great holidays, be able to
Yeah.
wear nice clothes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look after their family, have a
Yeah.
nice home, drive a nice car. And you know, that's so it's about celebrating the success of the salon-based hairdresser as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think this industry, and you are living testament to that, has given you so many opportunities. As you say, you've done TV work, you've done, you've got your own product range, you've done a multitude of things, and you kind of ticked off possibly all the things that everybody might think they want to do. But it is that operating in the salon that's the key to all of that.
Absolutely, and you know, it's my most rewarding day. I have to just say that it just made me laugh when you mentioned my product range. When we've had the products now for 12 years in the UK, we launched it in Asda. I'm proud to say it's British made.
Yeah.
It's a British export as well. We're in countries around the world. But I remember when we first launched the range, it was a proud moment walking down the shelves of Asda and seeing your products there. But once I went home to visit my mum up in Yorkshire in Barnsley, and I went into the kitchen to make us tea, and I opened the cupboard that should have all the teacups in, the best china, and it was full of Andrew Barton shampoo and conditioner. And I was like, Mum, what's this? And she went, I go and buy one every day, love. And I was like, oh, this is not going to make any difference to sales.
Oh, but I love that. Yeah, but she was so proud of you.
Oh, I was proud of her, Jane. I mean, as you know, I was adopted as a child, and I do a lot of work for the British Association of Adoption and Fostering. And without adoption, my life could have been very, very different. And you know, she was my best friend. And, you know, I lost her 8 years ago, and it's just. It's not easy,
rubbish,
is it? Anyway, let's move on.
It's not.
Let's move on.
But actually, that leads me nicely on to something I wanted to talk about, because I know you do a lot for the British Adoption and Fostering Association, because I've seen you at various things when my kids were school, and the Voice in a Million choir and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yes.
But you also are the hair ambassador for the Little Princess Trust.
Yeah, so I've been working with the Little Princess Trust for about 4 years. So I'm the hairdresser ambassador. And then at Headmasters, we are the official salon supporter as well to the charity. And for those people that don't know what the charity does, they basically have wigs made for children who lose their hair, usually through cancer treatment. And, you know, we all know as hairdressers how kind of upsetting and emotionally distressing it can be for someone when they loses their hair, especially through illness. And the fact that they help these children is just absolutely incredible. And if you want to have a look at their website, anybody that's listening, you'll see we've just created a tutorial video there for the hairdressing industry. So the hairdressers know exactly how, when somebody cuts their hair off for the charity, that it's cut in the correct way. So every single precious hair can be donated to the charity. Can be used.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all on the website, is it?
It's all on their website. We've just filmed it. Yeah.
When you see the work they do and the difference they make to those children's lives, it's just, well, it's heartbreaking, but it's also heartwarming.
Stop it. Me and you can always we can fill up having a cup of tea.
Whenever I see Andrew, we end up crying. I don't know why.
Always.
So
20 odd years of tears, Jane.
I know. I'm going to ask you this now because it's come up on my feed. Helen Redshaw, where do you see yourself in 10 years? It's a good question.
Oh, okay. I mean, I successful salon owner with a great team, kind of all the aspirations that we've all got. One of the things that I mentioned earlier is training's a big part of what I do. And 2 years ago, I launched a training scholarship called ABLE. Andrew Barton London Education, ABLE. That
well done, you.
Be a mat in a pub one night. And what ABLE's about is it's about crossing that bridge between industry and further education.
Okay.
And like many of us, I got quite upset and tired of this constant debate saying that industry's better than college training is not good, and salon
Yeah,
training is better. And I thought there has to be some bridge between these two great institutions, salon
yeah,
industry and further education.
yeah.
So it's a scholarship that doesn't challenge the usual technical qualifications like VTCT, MVQ, City and Guilds. It runs alongside it, and it's
Yeah.
my take on how I would do aspects of hairdressing, from a graduated bob to a
Okay.
shampoo to a consultation
Yeah.
to a hair up to a blow dry. So that's a long answer to that question, and thanks for the question. But that's certainly kind of where I see a lot of my energy moving over
Into the
time.
education.
Is building these young trainee hairdressers
Yeah.
and helping them to be more able to work in salon and to
Yes.
be salon ready, and
Salon
also
ready.
more able to have a fantastic career in hairdressing. And of
Yeah.
course,
No.
you know, my role of creative and communications director at Headmasters is super important to me, you know, and it's a
Yeah.
really exciting, dynamic business. I love the energy of the teams that I work with. So
Yeah.
there's lots to look forward to in 10 years' time, but, you know, fit, healthy, strong. Let's just hope all that continues to happen.
Absolutely. So Laura Hinton's watching. Morning, Laura, and she said she's
Good
so proud of the work you
morning.
do with the British Adoption and Fostering Agency. And I know you spend a lot of time doing that. Now, one thing you've touched on, so you're creative director. And I think like session hairdresser, when people start out in this industry, they often want to be a creative director or a session hairdresser. But I'm not sure that everybody always has a true understanding of what that means and what it stands for. So creative director for you, what does that role encompass?
Um, what it means is that I think I can best articulate it by saying that my role in that responsibility is to ensure exacting standards across our brand.
Yeah.
So, in layman's terms, I'm really responsible for every cut, highlight, blow dry that leaves our salons.
Yeah.
If the quality isn't good, then there's a reason why. So I remember being at a dinner party one night, and this girl saying to me, "Does that mean that you're responsible for customer complaints?" And I went, "No, my job is to try and make sure those customer complaints don't happen in the first place."
Yeah, they're zero. Yeah.
Yeah. So
No.
I think what creative director means is that if you saw it on a peak chart, it would flow and ebb. And yes, it is involved by being on those shoots that represent the brand.
Yeah.
It's about kind of how we speak as a brand. And I think a lot of it is, it's partly I'm responsible. I'm the custodian of the brand as well. So,
Yeah.
and for
No.
me, I'm very blessed. I work with two businesses in a creative director's role. I work with Headmasters.
Yeah.
I also work with Recruitment Hair Extensions as well in a similar role. So I think for me, it's about quality,
Yeah.
and making sure
Quality.
the brand delivers quality.
And how do you manage that with your diary? Because obviously you have got other responsibilities than the salon. I know
Yeah,
you love.
well, that's a typical diary.
I love the fact you still have a paper
And at the
diary.
moment, that's a diary. um, how do I manage it? I think I've already answered it. You know, the two Lauras that have just kind of spoken. I work with a brilliant
They
team
manage
of
you, Andrew, is what
people.
you're telling. Is what you're
Huh?
telling me. They manage you, is what you're telling me.
Well, yeah, I work with a brilliant team of people, and we're
Yeah.
all cogs in an amazing wheel that keeps turning.
Yeah.
So it's about the people that we all rub shoulder to shoulder, and we've all got our own responsibilities. It's about people. You know, without sounding too gushy, my partner Phil is just amazing and
Yeah.
just a beautiful soul. So you know, he keeps kind of me focused, and
He's a patient soul.
he's a very patient soul. And do you know what he is? He's very rational as well.
Yeah.
So he kind of managed to cut through some of the emotions sometimes as well.
Yeah, and
So,
that's a
you know, it's that balance like many of us have got in our marriages and
no, I get
relationships.
that. We've had a
Uh,
couple of sorry,
and
we've
the
had a
other
couple
thing
of
is that I've learned, and my great friend Naomi Scroggins, our great friend Naomi, kind of taught me this as well. I plan my day and I do the things that I least want to do first.
Yeah, because you won't do them otherwise.
and I won't do them. And then what I've got to look forward to is the stuff that I really like doing. So,
No, that's great
discipline is
advice.
absolutely everything.
Yeah, it is. It is. We've had a couple of questions, and we're just a quick answer in this. So Robert, James Allen, and Sandra Mars, kind of similar questions. There's been hairdressers advising clients on using box dye at home. Do you have a view? I'm sure you probably do have a view. Let's have the censored version of the view. What's
We work very hard as an industry to train all of our people. It takes years of skill and training and education to make sure that we can kind of deliver great colour service for our clients in the salons. If anybody's been watching my social media, you'll see we're asking clients to wait.
wait? Absolutely, we're all waiting. So
Yeah.
you know,
It's funny, isn't it? I'm using my hands, but all our clients are missing us as hairdressers. I'm
yeah,
desperate for my
yeah.
manicurists and pedicurists because I have a mani and pedi nearly every week, and it's
I love.
driving me mad looking at these fingernails.
But you see, you'll be straight back. So I think the positive thing is that people, people will want to come back as soon as salons are open.
Yeah,
They will be wanting to come in.
they will, and I think somebody said to me, "What's the future of hairdressing look like?" the other day, and well, who knows? But
Yeah,
one of the things that we do know is that what clients are always looking for is good value
yeah,
and
and good
values.
service.
Yeah, and value is not in a price tag.
No, it's not.
Do you mean values
No, it's
is
not.
somebody's perception of that experience and how they
Yeah,
felt and how they look at the end of it? I charge over 200 quid for a haircut, and I'm no better hairdresser than anybody that's watching. But I try to make sure that in that appointment time, that client feels that was good value for money, and that's
and
the
they're the
most
only
important thing
person
to me.
in your. I think what you are fantastic at doing is you make them believe they are the only person in your universe when
Well,
you're
they
cutting
are. I
their
can't
hair.
concentrate on anything else.
Well, it works. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. So before we talk about youngsters and well, not necessarily youngsters, but assistants and trainees, for stylists that are watching, what advice would you give them about, if they want to progress? What would you say to them?
um, as an apprentice, when I was an apprentice, and when I first started in Yorkshire in the village salon that I trained, I never ever thought that my career would take me where it's taken me. To be named British Hairdresser of the Year, oh my God! And all the other things that have happened as well, which have been wonderful. But I often use some of that training that I was taught as an apprentice,
Yeah.
and I was taught really early on that okay isn't okay. It's not good enough.
No.
And that's a guiding light to me in everything that I do. At the end
Yeah.
of this interview today, Jayne, in this chat, I
Yeah.
hope that your viewers at HJ will not think that was an okay kind of half hour this morning.
Yeah.
I hope they thought it was more helpful and more
Yeah.
beneficial and more interesting. So
Yeah.
that's a guiding light to me that it's never about okay as a
No.
standard. We all know that in the salons, if a client says it's okay when we've finished her hair, it means she is not coming back. It
Yeah.
means she's not telling anybody to come and visit us.
Yeah. She's not going
So
to be a good advert for your business, is she?
absolutely, because she'll just tell her friends, well, it was okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's
So
not enough.
so that to me is the guiding light. So I think, in answer to that question, that's probably the best advice I can share that's helped me
Yeah.
every single day and still helps me now.
And when you're recruiting for kind of assistants and trainees in the salon, what are you looking for? Because I know we've had as an industry, there's been a shortage of good or even volume of people coming through. What are you looking for?
Well, I think, what we pride ourselves on at Headmasters is that we have got fantastic training programs in place. We have an academy.
Yeah.
Every stylist that joins us spends 2 weeks with us in our academy on our revealed induction training course, where we share with them all the standards, all the kind of
Okay.
procedures, the techniques that our signature looks and techniques. So I think what we're looking for more than anything else is just that energy and effervescence and personality, and
Yeah.
because the skill we can kind of
You
help
can
with
you
skill
can help
set.
with that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
really, it's about personality and that kind of empathy and
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
soft skills, but so important skills.
Everybody I've ever interviewed in any salon that I've worked in, I've sat there and looked at that person and thought, can I imagine you with my client?
Yeah, it's good
Um,
advice.
and that's just been a guider. And
Yeah,
then
no.
if sometimes if I thought, no, I can't imagine you with that client, I'm then thinking, so what could I help you with to make sure that I would be happy with you with my client?
Okay, fair enough. Helen Redshaw said, do you think online education is now going to be the way we educate more?
I think social media over the last few years has dramatically changed lots of industries, including ours.
Yeah.
There's some fantastic platforms there for us to access. We work with L'Oreal Professional, and L'Oreal Professional have kind of their
Yeah.
access.
Yeah.
There's some great tools out there. When I spend time in our academy with our creative and our artistic team, the guys that are on those courses with us, really benefit from one-to-one and kind of that
Yeah.
interaction between human beings and a
Yeah.
model. So I think there's room for everything.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think you'll ever replace human interaction for the foreseeable future. We might just have to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I think this lockdown has also shown everybody how much we miss people and that human interaction. It's hard. The talking
Well,
of
you've done it
education,
again, talking about missing people. You've met me.
yeah. Just to say, I called Andrew the other day and I made him cry walking along the beach. I didn't mean to. I just asked how his other half was. Andrew, we need to say hi to Frank Hackett, who's watching from Ireland. So, morning, Frank.
Hello,
Lovely to see
Frank.
you. This will make you smile. Claire Douglas Hogg, how's your beagle enjoying having you at home? She said she's got two and they're loving it.
How is she going to cope when we get back to kind of
I
reality?
did.
I'm really not sure.
I think that's true, actually. I think a lot of people that,
Oh,
pets will miss it. Well, pets and children, because we've never spent this much time with families either.
oh, totally,
So,
totally. And how much, how am I going to cope with constantly talking to her as well? She's like, what's wrong with him?
mate, she'll be having a rest.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if you had to pick one career highlight, what would it be? From the day you started,
Oh,
what?
I'm talking to Hairdresser's Journal, but please don't think that I'm saying this for that reason. But to stand in that hotel in Park Lane with all your friends and family and your colleagues around you, and for you to kind of announce the British Hairdresser of the Year, and then look round and a standing ovation in the room. Do you mean? I mean, come on, it's every hairdresser's dream.
Yeah.
So but around that point, Jayne, I think after the celebration, the hangover, and the accolade, I realised that title came with a huge responsibility.
Yeah, it does.
And
Absolutely.
it meant that I needed to be the spokesperson for British hairdressing and fly that British hairdressing flag as best as it could. And that then gave me the opportunity to work with some incredible people. And, I started working with the Hair and Barber Council. I worked with the Federation, and all that has kind of escalated from that point in many ways. So, yeah,
Okay.
I'm so grateful for that time.
And do you have a favourite shoot that you've ever worked on?
Probably that one. I mean, do you know what I mean?
Because it
When
won,
you
did
shoot
it?
for and it wins, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably that one.
But it's interesting because if you looked at those images now, they are very classic editorial images. They would still stand the test of time.
Well, I thank you. That's a huge compliment coming from you. Thank you very much.
Oh, they would.
But I think what I've learnt over the years, along with the people that I've worked with, is that it's important to understand what your signature of hairdressing is. I've never been about edgy, kind of trendy, kind of funky. I can't even say the word funky. It makes me feel physically sick. I've always been really about what turns me on as a hairdresser is hair beauty.
Yeah.
and front cover look, and
Yeah.
so that
Beautiful wearable commercial hair I
yeah.
think is your brand. Tony Pucci's just said, where is your London salon? So just remind people where it is. Where's your head
We're
office?
in Mayfair, so we're on a gorgeous street called Maddox Street, just running off Regent Street.
Yeah.
So, which I'm going up every week at the moment to check on the salon, and again more tears because I walk into the salon and there's this empty space, and then
Just quiet.
you just realise that this space is nothing without the energy of your team, from
Yeah.
the youngest member to the most senior experienced member.
Yeah.
And it's just it's really tough.
Helen Redshaw's asked, whose hair would you love to do? So whose haven't you done that you'd like to get your hands on?
Oh, well, you know what? I think when I've worked with celebrity, I always get really quite nervous, because if you built somebody up in your mind and think what they're going to be like, and then
And they're
they
not.
disappoint you, or they're a diva, do you know what I mean?
It's no fun.
It's just like, oh, so I always get a bit kind of stressed, a bit kind of anxious about doing a celebrity. But I think what I've always realised over the years is, generally when I'm working with a celebrity, they're at work.
Yeah.
And I'm preparing them for their work.
Work.
I mean, whether it's a PR junket or an awards ceremony they're going to. So, I mean, one of my...
Was there one person?
Who was the diva?
No, I'm not going to ask you to do that. That could be fun. One person that you haven't done that you'd like to do their hair.
Oh, do you know, I'll do anybody's hair. Do you know what I mean? No, yeah, exactly.
Helen's a tart. What can I say?
My favourite celebrities that I ever worked with,
go on,
is the supermodel Jerry Hall, and I mean, just that
Classic.
mane of flowing hair, and do you mean, and just that being on set with her. Do you know what I mean? Every single shot's a winner, and so
okay.
yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. So we're over time, but there's two questions I want to ask you. Is there anything you would have done differently in your professional life? I'll just caveat that.
Yeah, you know me far too well.
I do know you far too well.
Yeah. No, because I what I've learned over the years is that there's always a learning curve to something. So you stand back and think, what did you learn from that? How would you change that next time if you had that challenge? When I closed my salon in Covent Garden, because we had a 46% rent increase, and I had to make my whole team redundant. That was a really, really challenging time. It nearly took me down.
Yeah.
But at the end of that, I came out of it because as one door closed, another door opened, and a different opportunity and a different learning curve. Yeah. So no, there's no point thinking.
No, good advice. And finally, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Just do the same, Andrew.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. I'd just do the same, and kind of.
Life's too short for regrets.
Who you are, and I mean, for me, I mean, I don't know if this sounds corny, but I came from a mining village in Yorkshire, working class family, grew up on a council estate. I still get excited living in London, and every time I cross one of the bridges on the River Thames, I look up and I pinch myself that I'm there, and I'm it's true, Dick Whittington. I'm still looking for the gold on the streets.
No, well, that's lovely though, and I think it's that still being respectful of what you have. It's not forgetting where you came from either, is it? I think that's a really important.
Absolutely, and final piece that's helping me on this, Jayne, at this time that's challenging for all of us, is I am doing some time every day to kind of focus and meditate, and I'm just appreciating everything and realizing that we are surrounded by abundance as well.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I think
abundance is, sorry to interrupt. Abundance is the friendship that you and I have had over the last 20 years. Thank you for that.
No, it's all my pleasure. I tell you, we've had a lot of fun, and none of which we can talk about on here. It'll go in the book though, but I'll change your name, I promise. Thank you. We could talk all day, Andrew. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy. So go and give that beagle a big hug And I'll speak to you very soon. And thank you
will.
to everybody for their lovely questions and for watching us this morning. Take
Big
care.
hugs to everybody.
Yeah, lots of love. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.